Howdy, friends. I'm just kind of doing this, dashing off really quick. I wrote this a while back. I had a few ideas, and then I realized, wow, I don't know what to do here. I'm just kind of going to go off in a separate direction because I just legit have no idea where to go now. I have resolved all of quite a bit of the conflict, or at least put it into a situation where if this extends further, it just will come off as unrealistic. So I just decided, all right, let's just kind of go off in a random direction, and that's what happened here. But yeah, I was thinking like Tywin would be the main character, and I was just like, I don't know where to take him at all because it's just without the Starks to fight, he's just going to go into a pitched battle, and he's heavily outnumbered, and he's going to go for whatever advantage he can. So yeah, that was kind of where I decided to go, and I also decided to pull an Edric Storm into there as well. I probably should have made him a kid voice, but I was trying to make this easier on our editor or our voiceover actor. So let's just get
What if Tywin
started.
stopped Ned Stark's execution? Let's explore the depths of it in the video. Tywin rides through the streets of King's Landing, Kevin at his side. After the defeat at the Whispering Wood, he needed to ensure that Ned Stark could be exchanged for Jaime. Sounds of a crowd assembling at the Great Sept draws attention.
What is going on at the Sept? The former hand is being taken there to confess his treason. The king may execute him. Get out of my way. Now, Sir Armory, clear a path to the Sept. By force, you have to.
Yelling to make way for Lord Tywin, his men rush forward and start shoving the peasants aside. As he rides into the large square, Joffrey commands Sir Ilyn to bring him Ned Stark's head. For a moment, Tywin is transfixed by the sheer stupidity of what he's seeing, then spurs his horse forward and roars as loud as he can at the boy.
Stop this madness immediately. What do you think you're doing?
Grandfather, he's a traitor, and traitors should be executed.
No, he will not be executed, you imbecile. I intend to trade him and his daughters for your uncle, and get that leg traded. Now, he looks infected.
I am the king. You can't talk to me like that.
You are still my grandson, and you are a fool if you think that this is a good move. Get him and his daughter back to the Red Keep. He's confessed his treason. Now we exchange him for your uncle so I can deal with Stannis and Renly. Clear the square and get Lord Stark back to the Red Keep.
Once he is certain that his orders will be followed, Tywin rides back to the Red Keep. Sansa and Ned.
Yeah, so just the usual clowning on Joffrey. You gotta have that a little bit there. So my thought here, the only way that Ned is surviving is as a hostage exchange, and that would be kind of the main thing that he would do. So in terms of the it's pretty simple. Tywin just comes in, and yeah, there's not much to talk about there other than it's just funny. I like writing the little bits and pieces of Tywin clowning on Joffrey.
Immediately after returning, he has Pycelle examine Ned's leg, only to have the Grand Maester diagnose that the leg could not be saved. Closing his fist, Tywin looks down at Ned.
Lord Stark, it appears as though it will be your life or your leg. Why did you save me? Because you were useful to me. I don't have time to deal with your son, who was quite talented at war. I'd actually like to work with such a boy. I will not have my son fight for the cause of a false king born of adultery and incest. In that case, I will keep your daughter here to ensure your good behavior. If you step out of line, she will die. You can't. I can and I will, Lord Stark. You've lost all credibility. You have no bargaining power aside from my son, which is easily solved if I exchange you for Jaime. However, you for my son and other Lannister prisoners is a reasonable exchange. I can simply keep your daughter here as insurance for your good behavior. Do we understand each other?
Ned lowers his head and nods.
Yeah, with this, so one of the things that a lot of people do not pick up on is that Ned is actually dying. I had it in this that he just loses his leg, but I could easily have had it that he dies of sepsis, he's suffering from pretty severe gangrene in his chapters. You also see that his stuff is graying, his bandages are gray and rotten. And I did this also in the what if Robb rescued Ned? We'll talk about that another time. I'm just doing this one because it's relatively quick. But ultimately, this serves to just kind of explain, kind of for my own sake, really, what Ned's surviving, because otherwise I'm just like, I can't justify it. So yeah, he's gonna lose his leg since it's pretty bad.
Tywin gestures to Pycelle, who gives Ned milk of the poppy before tying him to the bed. Now that Ned has been cowed, Tywin pens a letter to Riverrun, informing Robert that he is willing to exchange prisoners. He also puts preparations in place to try to get rid of Stannis Baratheon. Stannis had the royal fleet, but few men, while Renly had a large army but was far away from the capital. Tywin lays out a map, then sets a set of figurines to mark the troops. Without the north, he'd have to face the Baratheons by himself. Perhaps there was another ally he could reach out to. He was left with few options. Dorne would never ally with him, not unless he handed over the mountain and Sir Emery. And while Sir Armory was not terribly useful, Sir Gregor was a useful tool. That left Lysa Arryn, the woman who had held his son prisoner. Slowly, Tywin breathes out and writes out another letter proposing a marriage between Marcella and Robin Arryn. Once he's sure he has the preparation set, he summons Cersei and Joffrey. The king looks petulant, and his daughter seems relieved. Tywin lets out a long, irritated breath and steeples his fingers.
Why did you think that executing our prize hostage was a good idea?
He was a traitor, and showing him mercy would have made me look weak.
I don't know what stupidity your mother and your oafish father put in your head, but it stops now. Your mother is going back to Casterly Rock where she belongs. I'm the new regent, and you will not do anything unless you have counsel with me. Do you understand, Joffrey? Cersei, you will say nothing. I've already made the arrangements. You're not the Queen Regent anymore.
Cersei sputters, but Tywin is not about to deal with any of her stupidity. Clearly the boy's temperament was her fault. Robert might have been a lout, but the boy seemed like a spoiled brat. Once he had Cersei sent away, he has Joffrey sit down.
Do you want to know how to be a good king?
A good king acts boldly.
A good king acts wisely, Joffrey. Let me explain why what you were planning on doing was stupid.
He lays out the reasoning. Joffrey grows more and more sulky, as if he weren't taking in whatever.
Yeah, so with this, it's just he's saying, yeah, I put in the preparations, you're leaving. And he would just be like, I'm done with this. I'm finished dealing with this. And yeah, well, Tywin is not necessarily as much of a smart political operator as the show makes him out to be. Even though my girlfriend is actually like, even says Show Tywin is not intelligent. And it's like, technically, yes. But it was a very amusing thing where it was like, you are correct, but it's not quite for the reasons you think. You think that he is bad because he is not taking Arya into account, but really, all of the Stark's military is gone. That's the problem. And there really is nothing that anybody can do in that area. But the Tyrells are a bigger danger. And he would just be talking. We have this little conflict of Joffrey saying his a good king acts boldly when it's really not. When a good king acts wisely, even though Tywin is not a wise person, it's kind of hypocritical. But anyway, let's keep going.
Tywin was saying, dissatisfied by his grandson's clear lack of competence, Tywin has the boy taken to his rooms. This was going to be difficult. Once Ned has recovered from having his leg amputated, he and Sansa are escorted toward the Riverlands, where Robb is waiting with a large force of Northmen. Arya is already standing next to her, since Yoren had gotten her out of the city safely. Robb's eyes narrow as soon as he sees that his father no longer has a leg, but he still lets the exchange go ahead. Once Ned is securely behind northern lines, Robb gives the command to march back to Riverrun to make sure that Tywin does not try coming against them again. Once Jaime and the other prisoners are returned to the Lannisters, Tywin summons his son. When Jaime enters, his father's expression grims.
This will never happen again, Jaime. You were caught unaware by a green boy and captured. The only reason you're alive is because I was able to get back to King's Landing in time to prevent Joffrey from doing something stupid. You're right. I don't want to make the same mistakes again. Good. Now we must decide how to get rid of Stannis and Renly. Stannis has the smallest army, and likely it will be easy to get rid of him.
There is something we can use.
Go on.
There are caches of wildfire throughout King's Landing from the time of the Mad King. If you were to repurpose the substance, you could burn Stannis' fleet and Renly's army.
How much wildfire did the madman make?
Enough to destroy all of King's Landing.
Well, that is something I can make use of. Well done, Jaime. Where are they?
Once all the wildfire is collected, Tywin's eyes bulge at the sheer volume of the explosive stuff.
Yeah, so there's something to be said about Jaime not saying anything about the wildfire, but the thing is, it was mainly just there's a couple elements of it. One is that Aerys was going to burn all of King's Landing, including his dad, and it was going to be used on non-combatants. So my thought was he would tell him, hey, this exists, let's use it, and specifically as a weapon rather than as a terror tactic. And that's kind of the difference in my mind. You might have a different interpretation, but that's my thought about it, at least.
Carefully, he has the wildfire taken toward the gap near Bitterbridge and Tumbleton, along with several troops. While the wildfire wagons are taken toward Renly's army, he assembles the war galleys and sails toward Dragonstone. The attack happens in the middle of the night. A hail of green liquid is flung into Stannis' fleet from a distance, using catapults positioned on the Lannister fleet's decks. Once the fleet has been doused in wildfire, a rain of fire arrows strike the fleet. Green flames blast outward, destroying the fleet in seconds. Tywin watches the green flames devour the royal fleet, then nods towards his men. Yells rise to turn the catapults on the fortress. Stannis attempts to hold out, but the fires start rapidly spreading through the castle. Stannis and several others manage to break out of the castle, only to see thousands of Lannister men disembarking onto the shores.
Sir Davos, get my daughter out of here before the Lannisters get here.
Your Grace, No, I can't.
You can and you will. Now leave. Make sure he survives and sits the Iron Throne. Drawing his sword, Stannis rushes toward the Lannisters. Swallowing, Davos picks up Shireen and starts running towards the other side of the island where the small boat waits. Sounds of men dying chases after Davos as he escapes. Right as the several Lannister men rush towards them. Putting all of his strength to use, Davos rows away from Dragonstone as Stannis and everyone else on Dragonstone are systematically slaughtered. When Tywin sees Stannis, Selyse, and Melisandre's bodies in front of him, he nods in satisfaction, then frowns.
Yeah, so with this one, I just had it go systematically, like Tywin just slowly breaks down his enemies, since he's going to be in close proximity and he's not going to be occupied with the young wolf. So, and he would quickly take Dragonstone, since Dragonstone's actually not that bad, not that hard to take, especially if you just start flinging wildfire into the castle and making it so that other people are going nuts. And we have Mr. Stannis giving one last order to his faithful friend to get his daughter out. And I think that kind of leads us into the next bit where Davos kind of becomes the main character.
Where's Stannis' daughter? Our men report that she was seen escaping in a rowboat accompanied by the Onion Knight. Go after them. I want that girl brought to me.
Despite the Lannisters scouring the bay, Davos and Shireen managed to reach a ship bearing Celador Sands colors and flee toward the Free Cities, not wanting to waste time. Tywin takes the remaining ships from his fleet and the royal fleet sets back towards King's Landing. Once he arrives, news of Renly's advance reaches him along with reports of his wildfire preparations. Now that he's dealt with Stannis, Tywin rides out to meet Renly. When Renly arrives at the large open area in between the tip of the Mander and the Blackwater Rush, he sees the Lannisters have arrayed themselves quite far back from the rivers, even though doing so would have protected their flanks.
Something is wrong here. Why would Tywin not put his men in the best position? This is obviously a trap. Maybe he's stuck bits for our cavalry. We should get around. The bitter bridge is open to us, so we should send a force around the enemy through the Kingswood to hit them from the side. Lord Tarly, you have command of this force. I'll keep Lord Tywin occupied with a loud racket.
When Tywin sees the Reach and Stormlanders drawing up for battle.
So here we kind of have a little bit of tactics here. So one of the things that I do whenever I construct a battle in A Song of Ice and Fire is I don't just have a open plain. What I'll do is I will pick a specific spot on the map and create a set of tactics where and counter tactics. With this, it's very much that Tywin has set up wildfire, basically landmines, and then unleashes a just sets them up and has his army wait behind it. But the thing is, he hasn't gotten control of Bitterbridge just by virtue of his plan. So Randall Tarly counters by having a different army come around to hit him. And that ends up saving Mr. Tarly's life.
He has his archers ready with fire arrows to ignite the wildfire. However, rather than advancing to the gap, they simply set their camp, then begin making bridges to try to cross the river at the Blackwater Rush. Rather than risk the enemy attempting to make a run for the capital, Tywin has Jaime lead a holding force across the river to prevent a crossing. As soon as Jaime and his men cross the river, Randall Tarly attacks from the Kingswood, smashing the Lannisters against the Blackwater Rush. Jaime attempts to cross the Black, but the Reachmen under Renly start firing arrows into them. As Garland and 30,000 men smash into Jaime, more and more of the Reachmen and Stormlanders cross the river and start cutting through Jaime's forces, trapping them against the river. Sensing victory, Renly and the rest of the army rushes across the bridges to the south, bypassing the gap between the Mander and the Blackwater Rush, and charging toward Tywin. In a desperate bid to try and eke out some small advantage, Tywin has his archers loose their arrows in the gap. The flaming arrows fall in wildfire concealed within carefully constructed trenches in front of the enemy lines, causing the substance to ignite. Instantly, green flames blast outward, consuming thousands of men on both sides. Tywin had underestimated the power of the wildfire, and now he was paying the price. Jaime watches from the other side of the river as thousands of Reachmen are killed. Only Randall Tarly's forces, hitting his father from the rear, managed to survive, while the front ranks of the Westermen are incinerated. All he can do is attempt to break out, but his men are too few. In the final push, Jaime comes face to face with Garland and Loras. Raising his sword, Jaime rushes to meet the Tyrell brothers, but the two of them together overwhelm the Kingslayer. As the fire starts to spread, the Westermen facing the Tarly forces start running towards the Kingswood, while the Reachmen within the camp retreat towards the mountains. Tumbleton rapidly fills with screams as people rush out of the town ahead of the wildfire conflagration. For the first time in his life, Randall Tarly feels stark raving terror. Despite his fear, Tarly does what he can to keep discipline and drive the Lannisters into the wildfire, but he has to retreat away from the inferno. Finally, the wildfire dies down, leaving a mass of burned bodies. Renly and Tywin are both dead. Jaime is also dead, killed by Garland and Loras. When the dead are counted, Randall Tarly wipes his brow and starts cleaning Heartsbane to try to keep his mind.
Yeah, with this, I just wanted to have a little bit where it's Tywin just does not fully kind of goes in his usual overreaction deal, where he does not do half measures. Problem is, he underestimates just how powerful the wildfire is, especially wildfire that's about 14 years old and has been given a lot of time to sit. So, and he ends up dying along with Renly, making it so that there's a giant power vacuum. And I wanted to have kind of the reaction to the wildfire basically kind of be similar to Hiroshima, where people are just broken by this, and they're just like, "Oh my gosh, this was horrible," and it affects the uh the rest of uh the story going forward.
Mind off the horror around him. As he cleans the sword, both Tyrell boys ride up to him, their faces smudged with ash and soot.
How many are dead, Lord Tully?
All of the Westermen are dead, Sir Galan. Tywin burned along with his mad dog. My 20,000 are mostly intact, save for about 2,000. Renly is dead, along with most of the Reachmen and Stormlanders. Maybe 20,000 of theirs survived.
That's madness. So many.
Lord Tywin was just as much fox as lion, it appears. But it seems he miscalculated the strength of the wildfire, since it consumed just as many of his own men as ours.
Well, what now? I'm not pledging my sword to Joffrey.
Neither would I. His army is gone. He has no leverage. We can simply starve out King's Landing. But do we even care to? We don't have a king. There are no claimants to the throne anymore if Stannis is gone.
A great council then. Choose a new king.
Maybe. What is certain is that House Baratheon is gone. Storm's End will likely go to Edric's Storm to carry on the line. So perhaps we should support him over the boy Joffrey.
I could stand behind that. He's rather young, but I would stand behind the boy.
Randall sheathes Harpsbane and turns his eyes toward the capital. Garland and Loras take his meaning and ride toward their troops. Before Edric can be crowned, they need to take King's Landing. Once they cross the river, the remaining 40,000 troops left of their army surround King's Landing and demand they surrender. Knowing there is nothing they can do against the army, and with the wildfire used up, the city watch surrenders Joffrey and other members of the court of the Tyrells. Joffrey and his mother are executed, while the two other children and Tyrion are left alive. Littlefinger and Varys escape in the chaos, though Littlefinger's books are seized, revealing just how much debt the crown is in. Once the capital is secured and no other kings are left standing.
Yeah, so with this, I just wanted to do a little bit of housekeeping. As usual, they're going to die. Joffrey and his mom are going to die, and there's going to be a lot of house cleaning, shall we say, where we have quite a few people deciding to just die, really. Let me see. Any other bits to talk about with this scene? That kind of covers it. Yeah, that kind of covers it. Or is it? It's basically just who's going to be king now. That's the main point of it.
Garland and Loras declare Edric Storm as Edric Baratheon and crown him as king. Now that their claimant is on the throne and hostilities are over, Edric is wed to Marjorie to continue the Tyrell-Baratheon alliance, and a letter is sent to Riverrun recounting the situation to Ned Stark and offering him concessions for his treatment at the hands of the Lannisters and his son's help in bloodying Tywin in the Riverlands. When Ned hears about what has happened, he leans back in his chair and grunts sourly. Cat sits next to him, carefully avoiding looking at the stump of his leg, tapping his fingers against the arm of his chair. Ned considers what he should do. Tywin is dead. Renly and Stannis were dead. There was a bastard on the throne, but he was Robert's blood. He could accept a lad like that as king. As his father wants to return to Winterfell, Robb takes a large troop of men south to pledge themselves to King Edric. The young king seems rather overwhelmed with the whole proceeding, but he's friendly to Robb and accepts his fealty graciously. Once the whole ceremony is finished, Edric asks Robb to walk with him to Godwood.
I'm honestly very impressed with what you managed to do against Lord Tywin, Robb. Do you think you could stay and act as Master of Laws? Mace Tyrell is going to act as my hand, but I'd like someone who can fight for me alongside Randall Tally as Master of War if the time comes.
I do have a few things to take care of, namely a marriage pact with Walder Frey, King Edric, but after I go to make good on my deal, I would be happy to come and serve as your Master of Laws. There is a man in Whitehall named Waymond Manderley who would do as well as Master of Coin. He's one of the smartest men I know.
Good. Thank you. I'll put in the appointment for Lord Waymond as well. Bring your Frey girl down here. We can have the two of you get married in the Great Sept.
I follow the old gods, Your Grace. So, I'm sorry, but I'd rather wed my bride in the Godswood.
Fair enough. I'm just trying to be friendly. It's what my father would have done. I want us to have the same success as our fathers did. I think that the two of us together can bring about a lasting change.
Thank you for your confidence, Your Grace. I'll return as soon as I'm wed to Lord Frey's daughter. May I have use of his ship so that I can arrive at the Twins quickly?
Edric agrees and Robb.
Yeah, so ultimately I just wanted to have a little bit here where Edric is just trying to negotiate, play a little bit of the game, have him in kind of in a way that is just him being a good kid, really. This Edric Storm is a really good kid, from all of the interactions we have with him in the series. Like him saying, I wouldn't have chopped off your fingers to Davos, which just kind of goes to show that he's got a moral compass in that is kind of superior to Stannis in a lot of ways, and just kind of have a little bit of housekeeping where he's just inviting Robb to help him out, and kind of utilizing the Baratheon Stark alliance deal. Since I think that would be like, he's very much wants to be like Robert in a lot of ways, and at least the idea of Robert.
Sets out. After his marriage to Rosalind, Robb takes a ship to White Harbor to introduce her to his brothers and sisters and his parents. The only thing that could make it better was if Jon was there. Once he's declared his intentions to go south, his mother is ecstatic that the new king is honoring her son, while Ned is more somber.
Just be careful, son. It may be better with the Tyrells rather than the Lannisters, but you must remember, nobody in the south can be trusted.
I know, Father. I'll be careful. It'll be different, you'll see. I'm to be another Craig Stark, repair the realm, and then come back home.
You've got high expectations of yourself. I have confidence that you'll live up to it. I'm proud of you, son. You'll do well in the south.
While Robb sails south to King's Landing, Davos and Shireen land in Pentos. San's men escort them to the dock. Davos holds Shireen close with one arm, his hand on his sword. As soon as San escorts him to a large manse.
Yeah, now we get into the theory bit where I was just like, I am just going to make them join up with Illyrio, because they don't have any other. They don't really think of other options, and I just felt like I don't know what else to do. And I kind of had a few like little scenes where I was like, kind of want to do this. I want to have just like that little bit of kind of a little bit of human drama, and kind of give Shireen a little bit of time in the sun, really.
Where Varys and Littlefinger are waiting.
Lord Varys, I thought you were a Lannister man. Same with you, Lord Baelish. I'm a servant of the realm, much like you, Onion Knight. Littlefinger just wants to serve whomever the best option to advance himself is. And why did you have San bring me and Shireen here? It's rather simple. She has the only legitimate claim to the Iron Throne now that Renly and Stannis are dead. There is a lad who would benefit from her claim and your aid in taking back the Seven Kingdoms. Shireen is the rightful queen of the Seven Kingdoms. King Stannis entrusted me with ensuring she receives what she's due. And she will get exactly that, sir. But she needs an army, and our claimant has one. Aegon Targaryen, son of Rhaegar and Elia. I was under the impression that he had his brains bashed out with a mountain. How did he manage to recover from that? I've got some fingers I'd like regrown.
Very droll, said Davos.
You're cleverer than I anticipated. Aegon was rescued from the Red Keep shortly before the sack, and was switched with a peasant boy. Magister Illyrio has contacted the Golden Company in his service, and with Shireen's claim, he can now enter the Seven Kingdoms unopposed, since all sides have been rather depleted. I want to make some...
Yeah, so with this, I just decided to accelerate the timeline and make it so that Aegon moves a lot earlier, and would move in about the same period as Dany going to Slaver's Bay. Especially since now it's just like, yeah, a lot more people are dead. And functionally the realm is in a very precarious state. And if Aegon were married to Shireen, that would create a sense of legitimacy. Admittedly, this kind of gets discarded, and technically it's better if it's Daenerys because of the dragons. But I still was like, yeah, that could pose some fairly useful bits there. Let's do that. And just from there, it kept going, and I just decided, you know what, let's just kind of make a little bit of a something there.
Clear. Shireen will be queen. The Iron Throne is hers, and I won't rest till she has it. So very noble, Onion Knight. Just because someone like you doesn't understand honor doesn't mean it has no value. I understand it quite well. I just eschew it like the plague. Honorable men make bad business partners. So, Sir Davos, do we have an accord?
Davos glances at Shireen, who just nods in agreement. Not knowing what else to do, Davos extends his hand toward Varys, who shakes it lightly. After a short...
There's also like little bits of Davos having a little bit of humor where he's like, how do you recover from getting his head chopped off? I have some fingers. And Varys going, oh, you are very droll, Onion Knight. I'm very impressed. Or at your wit. And since I was just like, yeah, let's just have a little bit of fun with Mr. Varys. Since it's just kind of fun some of the time. I'm to just say, hey, let's just have a little bit here where a character gets to be fairly amusing. And I just love bits like that where characters get to how to put it, get to just kind of use a little bit of their own character as a bit of wit it, such as when he's, as well as just explaining Littlefinger going, yeah, I don't like honorable men. They make bad business partners, specifically referring to Ned Stark, and just kind of playing a little bit with that interaction, since that's kind of one of the things about what ifs is the main thing that people come for is character interactions between characters who hadn't necessarily interacted before. At least that's one of the reasons why I like it personally. And from there, I just wanted to have that discussion with two of the most cynical men. And the whole thing about Varys being a servant of the realm, that's bull. That's a lie, just born to manipulate people, honestly.
The river, they meet up with Aegon and John Connington and board the Shy Maid. When the prince sees Shireen, he's less than pleased that she's going to be his queen, but he does try to be somewhat kind to the girl. Shireen knows that he's just being kind, but she appreciates the effort. Most others wouldn't even try.
So, where is this golden company I've heard so much about? I thought they were for the black dragons, not the red. A dragon is a dragon, and the black dragons are all dead. We are going to sail for a few days to meet up with them. So, you're a smuggler by trade, correct? I am. I assume you'd like me to get you into some castle or another. Not exactly. We're looking to get south to meet with Daenerys Targaryen, to try and get her on our side. All right. I suppose I'd be happy to come along. Don't mind me. I'm just a simple onion smuggler with too many questions. Don't worry. So long as you do your job, we won't have a problem.
As they travel, Davos watches all of the other crew members, especially John Connington and Septa Lamore.
Yeah, so with this, my thought was, let's just have a couple of questions where he's like, huh, what's going on here? Something weird. Something weird's going on here. I don't like it. And he's just kind of asking a bunch of questions like, what is going on here? And I thought these people were for the red dragon, for the black dragons, not the red ones. And just making just a little bit it's of shall we say, feeling like something slightly off here. And my thought was, let's just kind of do have a little bit of, well, questioning, because Davos isn't stupid, and he would be like, wait, why did what's up with the Golden Company? That's weird. I don't know why. How you're doing this? This is weird. And so from there, it's just other questions.
John Connington, since he's the leader, and Septa Lamore is clearly the most enigmatic of them all. While they travel, Davos takes care of Shireen and interacts with Aegon, trying to get them to be friends with some measure of success, but not much. The princess likes the prince, but he sees her as a little sister. As they travel, Shireen keeps waking up in the middle of the night, screaming about her nightmares. Every time she wakes up, Davos is there to comfort her and help her back to sleep. While Davos travels across Essos, Edric Baratheon attempts to repair the damage done during the Wildfire War, as it's being called. The memory of what happened at the Battle of the Burning River is forever etched into both the minds of the combatants and the landscape. Despite all attempts to get the land to be usable, Tumbledon remains in ruins, and the land around it is scorched as if by dragonfire. Robb and Rosalind are excellent helps. Robb for his ability to inspire people, and Rosalind for her grace and gentle nature. Though the wildlings attempt to assault the wall, Great John Umber leads the northern forces in a counterattack that drives them off. Soon enough, Robb and Rosalind have a child named Eddard, while Edric has a daughter named Cassana after his grandmother. When they arrive at Slaver's Bay, after picking up the Golden Company, they encounter Daenerys and her ships. She's surprised to have this many allies coming to her, but she's still intent on gaining the Unsullied from Astapor. She is equally surprised at the revelation of Aegon and Shireen, but she accepts them into her court, since while Shireen is a Baratheon, she's only a child. Besides, Stannis had never been in the stories of the usurper's dogs, so she had no prejudice towards him beyond being Robert's brother. When Sir Davos sees Barris.
Yeah, so here, my thought was I just wanted to have them meet up a little bit early, like Slaver's Bay era, and then from there, just had the whole discussion, shall we say, of the what would be going on. I cut out a lot since I was like, let's just kind of cut it out as many lines that aren't necessary. So I did, and just decided, you know what, let's just keep this nice and simple. Let's not to overcomplicate matters unduly, and just have a little like back and forth summaries of what exactly is going on in the Seven Kingdoms, and I'll make it super, super complicated. So that was the main thought process there.
And sell me with Daenerys along with the dragons. He starts to see how they might have a chance. He's not fond of the idea of slave soldiers, especially since they already have the Golden Company, but any advantage, he supposes. When she proposes to take one of her dragons, Davos tilts his head in confusion, but doesn't say anything while the others express confusion and opposition.
Everyone calm down. Our Grace has a reason for this, but we should probably wait till we're out of earshot of those horn-haired folk.
Thank you, Sir Davos. I appreciate your support.
You don't strike me as someone crazy, Your Grace, and only someone crazy would just trade a dragon for a bunch of slaves.
I'm not sure how to take that.
I know someone running a scam from my time as a smuggler, Your Grace. You had that look about you when you were talking to the slavers.
I do have something planned, sir, and it will be quite a surprise.
When the exchange happens in Daenerys,
Yeah, I just wanted to have a little bit of the Daenerys just kind of being, hey, I've got a plan. And Davos would be like, yeah, I know you're running a scam. And just have that little bit of, since I just like having, like, Davos just kind of being this down to earth. He's like, yeah, and no scams. And stuff like that. And it's just kind of, it's more simple. It's not like terribly complicated character work. It's just
unleashes the Golden Company and the Unsullied on Astapor. Davos stays behind with Shireen, since he's not exactly able to fight. Once it's under their control, Daenerys gives a speech to the assembled Golden Company and Unsullied.
Both of you have chosen to support my cause, but I wish to know if you will support me or Aegon. I have fought with the intention of taking the Iron Throne for myself, but with my nephew here, I am forced with a hard decision. However, I believe that there is a compromise. I cannot have any children, so I am willing to name Aegon and Shireen as my heirs, so that their line will sit the Iron Throne. Would that satisfy you?
I had hoped that you would support my claim to the throne, since I am Rhaegar's son. The Iron Throne is my birthright.
I am the older of us, and I have brought back dragons to our family. Surely you see that I should sit the Iron Throne.
Might I say something?
All eyes turn toward the Onion Knight, now self-conscious of being the center of attention. Davos attempts to draw himself up and look confident, even though he was about ready to soil himself.
I don't pretend to know much about thrones and successions, but I know one thing. King Stannis, the most just man I ever knew, gave me one directive before he died: to his daughter on the throne. I know that I don't have much to bargain with, but can you see a way to allow me to fulfill that quest, Your Grace? She'll be a good queen. I know she will.
Sir Davos, while I'm grateful, I don't think that this is a good solution.
Princess, I promised.
I know you did, but I just want to go home. I know Aegon doesn't care for me, and I seem to be the problem here. If Aegon and Daenerys can simply marry, that solves this whole issue. They can simply rule together.
Are you certain, Shireen? It's very noble what you're doing, but you should be sure.
I'm sure, Queen Daenerys. I formally renounce my claim and offer it to you and Aegon.
Daenerys leans down and hugs the younger girl, which Shireen returns. When she releases Shireen,
Yeah, with this, it's just I wanted Shireen to be fairly noble, but she's still gonna hurt a little bit, because it's kind of having a little girl who has a crush. It's always pain. Like, regardless of who you are, if you got a crush and that crush kind of goes away from you, that's painful. And I think that would be something that Shireen would struggle with. And so I just decided to put that in, where Shireen is noble, but it still hurts her to make that choice. Nice. So that's kind of the main thing. And Davos, being kind of the good and loyal man that he is, trying his very, very best to fulfill the last wishes of his best friend, of his king. But then there's a complication where Shireen just decides, you know what, I understand what's going on, but it would be best for me not to. So I'll let it go.
Daenerys declares that she will be granted Storm's End when they return to the Seven Kingdoms. Aegon is actually quite happy that now he will be marrying Daenerys rather than Shireen, though he tries not to show it so as to not hurt the former princess's feelings. He isn't entirely successful, and Shireen walks away to hide how sad and hurt she feels. Seeing a tear trickle down her face onto her grayscale cheek, Davos picks her up and holds her close, just like how he would one of his own. In return, she wraps her arms around his neck and starts to cry. Davos does his best to comfort Shireen, but he knows how much the girl must be hurting. He'd experienced similar pain once or twice when a girl he'd fancied had chosen someone else, so he just held her close and whispered that he was there for her. She just kept on crying. Seeing the pain that Shireen was going through, Daenerys makes a special effort to take care of the princess. She'll involve both Shireen and Davos in her councils, seeing the Onion Knight as a genuine man with a good heart and a mind for motivating people. Rather than returning to Westeros, Daenerys and Aegon start the conquest of Slavers Bay, though Davos advises them to put a garrison and Jon Connington in charge of Astapor to keep the order. Daenerys.
Yeah, so at this, I would say one of the things about the main things that change is that he is going to alter the progress, where he's like actually has some experience ruling, due to him being in the corridors of power more, unlike Barristan and Mr. Perv, Jerome Mormont. And I definitely think that Daenerys would like and appreciate Davos, because Davos is just kind of just a good, honest, upstanding guy. And because of that, he is going to be fairly effective as her hand.
Agrees to this advice and appoints the Griffin Lord as governor of Astapor before marching out to Yunkai. Davos uses his smuggler ship to get several men into the city, allowing the Targaryen forces to take Yunkai under the Master's noses, causing all of the sellswords to join them once Yunkai and all its money have been lost. Marine falls as well after Barristan and Davos slip through the sewers and arm the slaves. Now that they have a power base, the sergeants in the Golden Company start to run the three cities by instituting garrisons and training the freedmen.
We have control of the slave cities, Your Graces, and we have enough ships to take our forces to the Seven Kingdoms. Shall we sail soon?
I want to take time to train the freedmen before sailing to the Seven Kingdoms. With the Golden Company and the Unsullied together, we will be able to instruct them into a professional army that can match the armies of Westeros.
Daenerys, if Varys is correct, the Seven Kingdoms are in a weakened state after the Wildfire War, as they're calling it. The Reach, Westerlands, Stormlands, and Riverlands have all been devastated. If we take time to train, that gives them time to rebuild.
If we leave, the Masters will simply take back what we've taken from them. All we've done will have been for naught.
I may have a solution. We should take a few months to firmly establish governments and help the administrators, leaving men we trust here in each city. We have the money of the Masters taken and stored inside the Great Pyramids, and split the keys between 3 overseers. That way, they won't be able to try to buy sellswords.
This is a viable solution, Sir Davos. Very well. I'm leaving you in charge.
Me? But I'm just a smuggler, and I want to see my home again. Please, don't ask this of me, Your Grace.
There is no one as honest and wise as yourself in my service, Sir Davos. You're the only man I can trust to stay here. I'm afraid I must insist. I name you Lord Governor of Dragon's Bay. No one shall gain sway your word.
Davos drops to one knee, smiling. Daenerys.
Yeah, so this is actually a Joseph in Egypt reference, where he is specifically in the Living Scriptures animated film by Nest Entertainment. And there's a whole conversation between Joseph and the Pharaoh about the solution to the issues of the famine, and I wanted to kind of illustrate that and make Davos almost the Joseph in Egypt character, where he is exiled from his home and is asked to stick around and administrate. And so that's just kind of the idea there, and kind of set up for later where he will eventually come back.
Raises him to his feet and gives him a kiss on the cheek. For his part, Aegon shakes the Onion Knight's hand. Rather than leaving with Aegon and Daenerys, Shireen opts to stay with Davos. When he asks her why, all she says is that Davos has been a better father to her than Stannis ever had been. Tears welling in his eyes, Davos embraces the little girl. When news of the approaching Targaryen army and their dragons reach the Seven Kingdoms, King Edric calls his small council. Many wish to try fighting, such as Mace and Paxter Redwine, but Robb and Garland advise caution. After hours of deliberation, Edric dismisses the council and walks to the wall overlooking the bay. For a while, the king stands there.
Yeah, so with this, I wanted to have a clear delineation between the Warhawks who had not experienced the wildfire and the people who had experienced war and the wildfire. Admittedly, while Robb did not experience the wildfire, he did experience the Whispering Wood, and that left a pretty hefty mark on his psyche. And I wanted to illustrate that.
He looks over his city, picturing it torn by war and dragonfire. He'd seen the aftermath of the wildfire battle. Could he inflict that on his people?
Your Grace, the old company. Me and Robb thought you might need someone to talk to. I suppose. I admit I've been considering some things, and I'd like to ask some questions of 2 members of my council who have experienced combat. We are at your disposal, Your Grace. Thank you. Robb, what was it like to fight? A mess of blood and carnage. 2 of my friends died protecting me, and I sometimes see their faces in my dreams, asking why I lived and they didn't. It's not really like the songs say. That's been my experience as well, Your Grace. When men start butchering, they're reduced to the most primal state. And while I'm game for war, I'm not sure I can convince anyone who was at the Burning River to face dragons. Can you tell me what it was like to face the Firestorm? I've faced many things, Your Grace, beasts and men alike, but facing something like that, a force that you can't do anything against, your own certain death-giving form, that is terror unlike anything I've experienced, and likely will ever experience again. And this would likely be the primary weapon of the enemy I would be fighting. I would probably end up dead, leaving my daughter fatherless. I don't think I can do that. We'll stand with you, Edric, no matter what you decide. I second the young wolf, Your Grace. You've both given me a great deal to think about. Let me consider this alone for a moment.
Both men nod and leave.
Yeah, with this, I wanted to have a different solution, because my thought was that a lot of time the Seven Kingdoms has a war right after, and my thought was, let's have cooler heads prevail here after the wildfire explodes, and just say, hey, let's not do that. And that was kind of just the main thought process, because it would leave a pretty indelible mark, and they'd be like, oh, so she's bringing a weapon that can kind of do a similar thing. No, let's not deal with that, and just have these two guys talk about their experience with war would be the thing that makes Edric go, yeah, no, I'm not doing this.
allowing Edric to look toward the vast burning area that still marked the final battle of the Wildfire War. They'd done their best to shield him from the worst of the wounded and dead, but he had seen a few. Pursing his lips, Edric removes his crown and starts turning it over in his hands. Would his father have surrendered? Probably not, but his father had loved war, and this kind of war would likely destroy the Seven Kingdoms. They'd gotten a taste of what it could be like, and with 3 dragons, the burning river would be replicated across Westeros. At that point, Edric makes his decision. When the Targaryen army arrives near the Blackwater Run, Daenerys and Aegon are met by Edric, Robb, and Randall Tarley with only a small retinue. The 2 dragon riders exchange looks, then land Drogon and Rhaegal on the ground before the dark-haired king.
I am King Edric Baratheon. I'm here to discuss terms with you.
Wise decision. You've seen the justice in our cause.
Well, not exactly. I've seen the harm your cause would do were I to fight, and I'm not sure what your cause is yet, but I'm willing to be convinced.
What harm do you speak of?
The harm of the firestorm. Westeros has suffered a war of fire already in the past few years. I do not wish to subject my people to another. So if you will grant me my life and the lives of my subjects, I will abdicate and give you the throne. That's rather noble of you. I'm impressed by your sense of honor, King Edric. I have a baby daughter, my lord. I know what will happen to me if I attempt to fight. I will die and leave her without a father and my wife without a husband. If you would leave me Storm's End, then I will be content.
I'm sorry, but we've already promised Shireen Baratheon that she will receive Storm's End. However, there is a place that we need a governor for. Davos Seaworth would like to return home at some point, and if you and a few others could go there and provide your leadership, we would be willing to gift you and your line.
Well, that's quite a bit better than I expected. It may be exile of different kinds, but I will accept this.
With the terms settled, Daenerys and Aegon are wed in the Great Sept of Baelor and ascend the Iron Throne. Once the transition of power is complete, Edric sets sail with Marjorie, Robb, and Laura.
Yeah, with this, I just had the idea that, so I just wanted to have kind of the final, I guess, piece of this be Edric nobly gives up his throne because he's like, yeah, I see the problems. I'm not going to do anything. And from there, we just have this, the denouement, where Edric goes to Dragon's Bay, and then our good friend Davos comes
towards Slaver's Bay, along with a large number of troops who had agreed to follow the former king. When Davos sees the vessels bearing the crowned stag, he welcomes them to the Great Pyramid. When they tell him that the king and queen wish him to return home, Davos sets sail with Shireen, ready to serve as the new hand of the king. That's our theory. Westeros is a land.
Yeah, and that kind of concludes it. This was kind of an example of, I just Discovery wrote this. I had no idea where this was going to go, and once Tywin was dead. So I just went, yeah, let's just kind of write, throw in a bunch of characters and then kind of end it. And I ended up ending it pretty soon, actually. I was very surprised at how short this turned out. But please, it's not my best, but I just was dealing with like quite a bit of writer's block while I was writing it, and so that's kind of what I decided to do. I just kind of just kept shifting between perspectives in order to try and keep things going. But anyway, that's it for today. Thank you all for coming. Bye.